Social media accounts for 27% of all time spent online and has become a popular way for customers to discover and research brands. It's also become a way for marketers to reach out to potential customers. In fact, 93% of marketers currently say that they use social media for business. And in 2013, there was a surge in popularity of new networks like Pinterest, Vine, and Instagram, all of which we've covered. This year, expect more sites to gain additional traction and become part of people's daily lives. Before businesses jump into social media, here are some of the essential tips to success in social business. Let's take a look at 3 things to do in social business and why. First up, we have the act of listening. Listening involves the understanding of what customers and influencers are saying about your brand, product, or service and comes with a cost-effective price tag of free. Listening is a precursor for active listening, which we've already discussed, which involves organizational intervention. Next up, we have collaboration. To collaborate is to prescribe and direct a message with the intent of persuading or driving awareness and conversation between customers and business, customers and themselves, and customers and employees. This all ties back to the underlying business objectives, and that's the ultimate goal. Lastly, we have the act of measurement. There are hundreds of millions of interactions across social media sites every day. Even though the majority of businesses believe social media is important, 25% of them have no strategy in place for measurement. And that's a very, very low percentage, alarmingly low. Companies seeking to create a scalable social business need a measurement system that monitors their progress in delivering social benefits and economic value. Only by tracking both the social and business results and how they're connected can firms hope to have a large-scale social impact. The simple act of listening intently and responding intelligently is at the helm of social business. It forms the basis of your social media program. The simple act of listening and actively listening is built around paying attention to conversations and then responding based on a combination of strategy and measurement. It gives you a direct link to your customers. We've talked about that elevated level of connectivity being absolutely very, very important. And also, it gives you the opportunity to quickly spot irregularities with the consumer product, whether it be a defect or whether it be a complaint or some kind of problem or issue the customer is having with the product. It's a core skill for communication professionals. You have to have the right individuals working and representing your brand that are able to effectively communicate with customers and also are able to siphon out information and intelligence and relay it back to the organization. If a sudden new interest or negative event or rumor around your product surfaces, you'll see it and be able to interpret it quickly enough to do something with it or about it. That is the act of actively listening. When we look at the social web, it serves as an infrastructure for these conversations to take place. Customers will readily work together to create a better understanding amongst themselves with regard to what you have to offer as a business. I've made several references in previous lectures and previous slides about the importance of a social business creating and or establishing a baseline. You can achieve this by using tools such as Net Promoter listed on the right. Net Promoter is a management tool that can be used to gauge the loyalty of a firm's customer relationships. You can achieve this by asking one simple question via Net Promoter. How likely is it that you would recommend your company to a friend or colleague? You can track these groups and get a clear measure of your company's performance through your customers' eyes. Customers are then able to respond on a 0 to 10-point rating scale and are categorized as follows. You have promoters, fence sitters, and detractors. Promoters are in the 9 to 10 range, fence sitters are in the 7 to 8 range, and detractors are into 0 to 6 range. So what should you expect from a program or system like this? You need to be able to anticipate and also establish exactly what is expected of your business, such as how much conversation should your business expect? How many negative posts is too many negatives for your business? This is very, very important in being able to gauge and determine whether or not you're succeeding in social business. That's the importance of creating and establishing a baseline. Establishing a listening baseline can help you spot and manage a crisis before it's too late. Basically, before establishing that baseline, you're working with blinders on. You don't know exactly where you need to be and where you are. Using a rating system like this will help you to establish that. You can discover your metrics and govern your business proactively. So that is the importance of the Net Promoter Score. Here is a look at the Net Promoter website. Again, Net Promoter creates a consistent and trackable metric that can be presented and placed into context across any organization. It's naturally aligned with the conversational dynamics on the social web. Questions get asked that wouldn't otherwise get asked, and innovations can arise as a result. Another great thing about Net Promoter is that it's quantitative. You can always work with numbers. The qualitative approach is a little bit more challenging because you have to try to persuade consumers to actually talk about their experiences by way of word opposed to choosing a number. So it takes a little bit more effort. However, as stated here, again, numbers are definitely a metric that you can work with in terms of determining exactly where you are on social business. Measurement in social media cannot be emphasized enough. It's a key to understanding effectiveness. Social media can and should be measured. There are quantitative metrics that will allow you to achieve this, as we've stated, such as views, the measurement of content, creation, comments, posts, profiles, and other measurable opportunities as well. Reach and frequency are accepted surrogates for effectiveness. You know exactly, or pretty much a ballpark number of how many people you're reaching if you're practicing social media the right way. And you also are aware of the frequency and how often people participate on the social web. These are all measurable opportunities. You have to make measurement a formal part of your social media program. And you can do that by quantitative metrics. And there's also qualitative opportunities as well. Linking social analytics with business analytics. The alignment of these two is very, very important. The social web can be used as part of a real-time feedback system that keeps your organization on track. Remember, it's your responsibility as an organization to be proactive in this approach and make sure that you're listening to the conversations that take place, or you at least have a workflow solution that actively monitors real-time conversations out there on the social web based upon impressions of your brand, product, or service. If you do it, they will talk about it. So it's up to you to gauge the activity taking place on the social web, opposed to kind of leaving it out there unattended to. When we look at the feedback loop, it's a continuous loop that takes place on the social web as it pertains to people's perspectives, experiences, and thoughts about a product, brand, or service. People are always and constantly commenting on product, brand, or service, and their opinions and thoughts on those product, brands, or services. When we look at the Net Promoter Score, it's a simple metric that gauges and captures the underlying majority of significant connections between the social web and your brand, product, or service. It's strong in measurement, and it's a testing application that you can use to build your social business. And of course, it's built around that 0 to 10 scale and asks that single question. How likely are you to recommend my product, brand, or service? So a simple enough metric, and it gives you numbers, which again, you can work with. Another important aspect of social business is being able to identify and find your influencers. Identifying participants that are more broadly connected, participants that have an audience, such as media influencers, journalists, bloggers, writers, and analysts. You can proactively achieve this by using applications and solutions such as BuzzStream that will help you to research influencers and track relationships. You can find BuzzStream by looking it up on the Google database. It gives you the ability to convey your message to a large, defined audience. You know exactly who you're speaking to. You can spot them and build appropriate relationships with these individuals. How do you build credibility online as a social business? Credibility is very, very important. You achieve this by cultivating quality relationships with these influencers across the web. Until now, that process was very time consuming and resource intensive. Applications and solutions like BuzzStream simplifies this process by allowing you to efficiently cultivate and manage these relationships. BuzzStream is a very, very good program, but also Sysomos is as well. It's an alternative to BuzzStream, but it does essentially the same thing. BuzzStream is a company that uses the content of social media sites, including blogs, forums, and Twitter, to create real-time picture on how products, people, and brands are covered in those media sites. That real-time picture, unlike similar service, also attempts to identify how the sentiment toward that identified subject is developed. It's designed to analyze conversations, themes, and identify key influencers. So these are two programs and two systems, two solutions that will help you to identify your influencers and to cultivate relationships with these individuals. This will broaden your reach. We focus a lot on bridging the gap of connectivity between the organization and the consumer. And we've also made some references about the importance of Enterprise 2.0 and elevating connectivity internally. Let's take a look at a couple of software applications that will allow you to achieve this. We have Social Text, Lotus Connections, and SharePoint. Also, it's very important to build internal communities, again, to elevate that level of connectivity amongst employees and open up a place or platform for conversation to take place. Again, transparency is very, very important, not only externally, but internally as well. Internal communities can be achieved by using software applications such as Jive, Lithium Technologies, and Salesforce. Employee Storm is also another approach. It's an ideation approach. We've talked about ideation externally, creating a platform that will allow individuals such as consumers and stakeholders to state their thoughts, opinions, and perspectives and experiences about a product, brand, or service. You can achieve the same by using that very same concept in the form of Employee Storm, building a platform internally and leaving it open for the employees to actually engage and share their thoughts, perspectives, and ideas about the organization. Encouraging collaboration everywhere, again, is an essential component to the success of any social business. It helps you to define your objectives, listen more intently, organize more effectively, engage with not only your employees internally, but the consumers externally, and to measure those metrics and acts of participation on the social web. So in any instance, it's in your best interest to always encourage collaboration both internally and externally. It takes teamwork, and by team, I mean the consumer as well, alongside the organization. Teamwork is very important. It's not about me, it's about us. That's the ideology. Terms of engagement, in a traditional sense, are relatively passive. And there's a very, very low involvement form. We've talked about that time and time again with traditional media such as television, radio, magazines, and newspapers. With the elevation and emergence of Web 2.0, there's more of a social sense of engagement. Customers are more connected, and their desire to be part of the larger picture only increases because they've been acknowledged and they can actually speak their opinion and their voice will be heard. When one belongs to something, one takes personal ownership for it. If it's a passive experience, it's not very engaging, and then customers disconnect from that experience, and it becomes kind of a one-off transaction. There's also member-to-member curation. Curation, again, is when you rate and review or add metadata to any experience or participation that takes place on the social web. So everyone has a reputation. And if it's reputable, if it's a positive reputation, you can definitely trust what this individual has to say in regards to their opinion and their experiences. So it's something that you can definitely rely on as a source of measurement for one's experience and one's comments. It's also about engagement. Consumption of content is typically the most likely activity from a consumer's perspective. However, it's fairly passive by all accounts, even when the activity involves social media. 80 to 90% of audience limits its activity on social media to consumption alone. It's important to bring your audience to a level of genuine connection by allowing them to curate, post, comment, and create. Participating with them and getting them into the game and also placing yourself within the activity that takes place is also essential. When we look at curation, it's built around activities, again, such as rating, reviewing, judging, and reflecting on the sensibilities of a value system of the audience. It allows the consumer to participate and add their comments and thoughts, that metadata, to whatever activity is taking place on the social web. You're giving your consumer base the opportunity to engage. You're opening up the opportunity to connect and communicate with one another and communicate with the organization. Let's take a look how some bigger businesses are achieving this higher level of engagement. First, we'll take a look at the Pepsi Pulse project. Pepsi Pulse is a social media-driven interactive dashboard for everything in pop culture. It's a real-time platform that lives at Pepsi.com and curates trending pop culture and entertainment news. You'll also find original content such as deals and celebrity challenges. The dashboard also highlights celebrity Twitter messages and tweets from people using the hashtags now or live for now. So this is a way that they're able to connect with the consumer on a more personal level, giving the consumer the opportunity to use these hashtags and make their comments about trending pop culture and entertainment news excites the install base. So when you look at the approach that Pepsi Pulse has taken, again, they've galvanized the community, they've excited the community by allowing them to participate within the infrastructure of this platform. One of the great benefits of Pepsi Pulse as well is that everything is taking place in real time. So you get to see up to the moment comments by customers and advocates of the product. And you also relate it to something that resonates with the customer base, and that's pop culture and entertainment news. So it's not only about the product, but if you're going to launch whatever your opinion is or contribute your opinion on Pepsi Pulse, oftentimes they will put a picture of the product. As you can see here on the dashboard, there are several pictures of Pepsi cans. So they are connecting the brand to what people are interested in, which again, in this instance, is pop culture and entertainment news. So they're migrating the two, and they're doing it very effectively, I might add. Now let's take a look at how Pepsi's competitor Coca-Cola achieves their higher level of engagement with the community. They have a program called My Coke Rewards. It's a very different approach from the Pepsi's marketing campaign. It's a customer loyalty marketing program for the Coca-Cola company. Customers enter codes found on specially marked packages of Coca-Cola websites, and they can redeem them for prizes on that website. So essentially what this customer loyalty program is, it's a way to keep the customer connected to the product after that initial transaction takes place. They buy a Coca-Cola product, they see the code on the Coca-Cola product, and then they can go to the website and redeem the code for points and status, and they can take those points and actually cash them in for prizes and other rewards. As you can see here on the right, there's a gift card for Nike, there's a gift card for Visa, and there are other prizes and promotions included as well. So it's a customer loyalty program, a very different approach from Pepsi's approach. That's more of a real-time engagement approach on the social web. However, their approach is also equally effective because, again, we're marrying the consumer to the product after that initial transaction takes place, that consumption of the product. So this is a great strategic approach on behalf of Coca-Cola as well. It goes without saying that getting everyone on the same page is essential to the success of social business. Social business is so much bigger than marketing itself. It takes a holistic approach to organizing a business around its customers. And who exactly is responsible for the internal alignment of this business process? Well, the answer would be every officer, every representative, every employee, every director, every manager, supplier, customer service person. Everyone is responsible for the execution of this social business initiative. And everyone is responsible for trying to galvanize internally employees and make sure that the communication and message is transparent and everyone is on the same page. So when you look at the efforts here, don't look at just one department. One department isn't responsible. Everyone is responsible. So it's essential and very, very important for you as the marketing director or the person in charge of the social business initiative to get everyone on the same page and to try to empower and encourage everyone to work together as a team. So we definitely need a motivator. However, everyone is responsible. Now let's take a look at what not to do and what to do instead. Ignoring change at your peril can be very detrimental to the success of any social business. You have to exercise forward thinking and innovative approaches. And you also can't have the mentality that the status quo is at a dead end. You have to take risk in order to grow, in order to evolve. Risk taking is also essential. And you also have to be cognizant that negative conversations are already happening. We've talked about this before. They're taking place. It'd be best that they're taking place when you position yourself to actually monitor these conversations. You have to listen. You have to listen and acknowledge the conversations, correct any misinterpretation of messages being transferred, and quickly move on behalf of your organization. So these are a couple of things that you definitely should not do. Now, what are some of the best practices in social media as we continue to look at this overview midway through the course? Of course, again, we have listening. And listening, again, provides a starting platform to keep you in track with what's going on as it pertains to conversations taking place out there. It allows you the opportunity to tap into that intelligence and to be a little bit more proactive in your approach. And then we have a customer-driven design. Again, the acknowledgement of the consumer as a co-contributor is also essential. Connecting your customers deeply into your business organization is very, very important. And then we have the act of crowdsourcing. Enter a new concept here, a concept that we haven't made reference to in the past. And we're going to get into a couple of examples of crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is empowering the community to actually take part in the design process. Rather than trying to make sense of 10,000 ideas, you can let your customers sort out the list. And then we have the exchange of knowledge. You can create lots of different collaborative efforts that connect customers with your employees. This is the very meaning of social CRM. So these are some of the best practices in social media. Now let's take a look at some more specific examples of crowdsourcing. I'm very excited this week to introduce a new concept, crowdsourcing, one of my favorite concepts. Crowdsourcing is the process of obtaining needed services, ideas, or content by soliciting contributions from a large group of people, and especially from an online community, rather than from traditional employees or suppliers. And it also begs the question, can crowdsourcing kill outsourcing? Since we're actually looking to the consumer base for help, opposed to looking overseas for help. A couple of specific examples of crowdsourcing done very, very effectively are the websites Threadless, then we have CrowdSpring, and then we have HARO, which stands for Help a Reporter Out, and lastly, we have Kickstarter, which is relatively new. Kickstarter is a crowdsourcing platform that you may have recently heard of because it's really, really elevated in its popularity as of late. We'll address these 4 websites and exactly what they do. First up to bat, we have Threadless shirt designs and tees. Threadless designs are created by and chosen by an online community. Each week, about 1,000 designs are submitted online and put to a public vote. After about 7 days, the staff reviews the top scoring designs. Based on the average score and community feedback, about 10 designs are selected each week and printed on clothing and other products. After they are printed, they are then sold worldwide through the online store and at their retail store in Chicago. So the designs that are chosen are left up to public opinion. And what does that tell the organization? These are the designs that the public likes. So these are the designs that are more likely to actually sell and move units. Designers whose work is printed receive $2,000 in cash and or $500 in Threadless gift cards. So they are awarded. There's an incentive there. But more important than the actual cash rewards is the acknowledgement of their work and the opportunity to sell their work in other shops. Each time a design is printed or reprinted, the respective artist does receive $500 in cash. So that's also an added incentive for the artist to actually contribute their ideas, their thoughts, and their designs to Threadless. So this works as an advantage and also works as a positive for both Threadless as a store because they know exactly what the community wants and they're able to print those out to shirts and other products and sell them to the community because the community have demanded these particular designs. And the artist is also rewarded by, again, being financially awarded and also getting acknowledgement for his or her work. Next up, we have CrowdSpring. Entrepreneurs, small businesses, startups, big brands, and agencies who need a custom logo design, website design, or other graphic design can submit their requests and or preferences to the community and communicate when they need it and how much they're willing to pay. Once posted, creatives from around the world, over 100,000 from 200 countries, can submit actual work. It's very important to note that buyers choose from among actual work, not bids or proposals. So the artist and or contributor will know if the organization is interested in paying them for their artistic creation. This is a great way to reinforce a level playing field for all individuals who qualify for this line of work. So again, a very, very good example of crowdsourcing. Another good example of crowdsourcing is the website HARO, which is an acronym for Help a Reporter Out. It's an online service set up for journalists to quickly gather feedback from the public. It's designed to enable journalists to connect with people who have expertise or experience in particular issues so that the journalists can obtain valuable advice and quotes for articles they're writing. So essentially what HARO is doing, it's crowdsourcing individuals with intel or knowledge as it pertains to things that are going on in the community newsworthy. So the news is using crowdsourcing efforts, and as you can see on the right, we see Fox, we see Dow Jones, we see Meredith, ABC, Associated Press, and Gannett. These are all news agencies that use HARO. One can't expect the news to be able to cover every single angle and every single occurrence that happens in every community across the world. There are instances where different newsworthy items are overlooked. So what are news organizations doing to be proactive? They're outsourcing, or I should say crowdsourcing, the community itself to submit ideas and thoughts and actual intelligence based upon things that are going on, again, that are newsworthy. So everyone is using this crowdsourcing approach. It's very, very effective. Kickstarter is one of the more popular crowdsource-based approaches. The concept is very simple. If you have an artistic vision that requires financial backing, you create a Kickstarter account and kindly ask for contributions from the community. Recently, a cult favorite video game that people have been demanding for years, Shenmue 3, had an initial starting goal of $2 million. The campaign was miraculously funded in just a 24-hour period. That is absolutely incredible. Musical acts such as De La Soul and TLC have had their projects funded through Kickstarter as well. In addition, multi-billion-dollar projects like Oculus Rift were originally funded on Kickstarter before they were eventually acquired by Facebook for billions of dollars. Kickstarter has reportedly received over $1 billion in pledges from 5.7 million donors to fund over 200,000 projects, which include films, music, stage shows, comics, journalism, video games, and food-related projects. This is an absolutely amazing site and something that you should definitely check out. A great example of crowdsourcing.